Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and it's custom card review number 5. I'm going to go over your guys' submission that you've given me on Twitter. If you're unaware, I do custom card reviews, but on the channel a little bit differently. I don't go over like to the custom subreddit. I let you guys, the viewers, submit cards to me, and we've been doing over at twitter.com/ZeddyHS using the hashtag ZeddyCustom. But I have had, some suggestions to me, some complaints that, might not have a Twitter account, might not be the best way for you to submit your cards to me. So I've set up a separate channel on my Discord channel where you can find that link in the description below. If you want to join the Discord and submit your cards to that Discord, and I don't know, you could probably talk to other people about custom cards and all that sort of stuff, or just join the Discord in general to chat. Hit it up. You can hit up the that chat room, all that stuff, and I will take a look there for possibly next week's video to submit more custom cards and review them there. So if you can't get onto Twitter, hit up the Discord. Otherwise, keep doing what you guys are doing. You keep hooking me up. It's awesome. So let's go over a bunch of user-submitted custom cards. And again, we're going to rate this on 2 scales, one being design and flavor. Do I think the card makes sense in the class, or if it's neutral, or in the Hearthstone world itself? Do I think it's flavorful? Do I like it? Can I see it as a Hearthstone card? And then balance, is it overpowered, underpowered? I kind of rate these on a 5-star scale and give suggestions to, how to improve it, maybe on like a balanced perspective, things like that. So let's get going. Let's take a look at some of your user-submitted custom cards. First, we're starting with a unique card. I don't really see a class attributed with it. Wrigglyz submitted this through Twitter and said it was a Death Knight card, so I guess if there was like a custom Death Knight class, but anyways, I thought the card is unique, and let's just talk about it in general. It's a legendary spell called Reverse Fate. And the ability, what it does is it swaps health with your opponent. So the idea is, your opponent's burned you down, you're low on health, he's high on health, he's been an aggressive deck, and then you just turn the tables. You switch health and then you burn him out, you kill him. Maybe you're at like full health and you're at like 1 or 2 health and he's at full health and then he can't finish you off and you just kill him with a simple burn spell or hell, a ping. I could see this like being exploitable in certain classes, like for instance Mage with Ice Block, where you just get your Ice Block procced and then you play Reverse Fate. And if you played a card like Emperor Thorson, you could play this for a bit cheaper and then frostbolt them down and kill them. Could be pretty interesting. But again, I think he said that this card was like a Death Knight card, and I don't know, maybe you could get it off the Lich King, something like it. It's a ridiculous card, but I think it's really flavorful, very impactful. Like Death Knight cards have historically, when we've had them with like the Lich King with Arthas, have always been like these high impact, kind of crazy cards. Not this high impact, but I think it's a really interesting card. I like the fact that it creates this like mind games with your opponent. They think you're running Reverse Fate. How do I play around it? Do I not get him down to a certain amount? If I got a proc Ice Block, maybe I try and proc him high, so if he does Reverse Fate, I don't just immediately die. So I think it's a really flavorful, interesting card. I'm gonna give it a 4 for design balance, or not design balance, sorry, design flavor. I just think it's really interesting, really unique, and it makes me think about a lot of different things you could do. In terms of balance, I feel like it's a little too exploitable, like I mentioned with Ice Block. It's a little bit scary, and then who knows what like other classes, like hell, you could do it with Paladin, where you play the minion that takes all of your health and converts it to armor, and then you Reverse Fate and do some ridiculous stuff like that. But do I think it's overpowered? No, it's 10 mana. It's a dead card 99% of the time, and it can be played around to an extent. But I think it's really unique. I think it could be playable. I think it could be exploitable. I just don't think it's particularly OP or ridiculous. So I'll give it a 4 for balance. I think it's a really unique card, really interesting. And if it's not supposed to go specifically to a Death Knight class, I wonder what class it would go to, because it's absolutely ridiculous. Next, we have a Druid epic card submitted by Adam Taylor called Druid of the Dream. To choose one card, it's a 5-mana 5/5. And you get to choose one. You either transform into a copy of the last minion summoned or the next one. And you can see the 2 different versions here, Dream of the Past, Dream of the Future, do these things. And it kind of takes like the spiritual successor, combination of Forbidden's Floop and somewhat Ixalan. We've both seen these kind of effects to an extent in Druid with Floop, basically becoming a copy of the last minion you played, and Ixalan summoning a copy of a minion you play, but not becoming it itself. So a little bit different in that aspect, but I think it's a really interesting, unique card and could open up a lot of combo possibilities. Of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is always with Druid is Malygos, and certainly you can utilize that here where you play a Druid of the Dream And if it doesn't die, you know, you play it into the future and then you get it turns into Malygos. Or you played Malygos, your opponent killed it, and then you played Dream of the Past, and then burn your opponent down. We've seen that with Forbidden Sloop to an extent, so I think it's really unique. It's kind of funny that with like the Druid quest, it likely wouldn't really work very well. Because Dream of the Past is worded first, you would probably just transform into the last Dominion Summon, and that would be it. You wouldn't really get to be able to do the copy things, so there's a little bit of anti-synergy, but again, doesn't have to be, not every choose one card needs to be a beneficial by the quest, so I think it's very flavorful, feels extremely at home in Druid. I could 100% see this being a Druid card, and just the possibilities it opens up is awesome, so I'm going to give it a 5. I really like the design and flavor of this card. In terms of power level, I think as a 5-mana 5/5, the stat line's a little too aggressive. Like, I mean, look at Ixalit, it was a 2/4, Forbidden to Sloop was a 3/4. You're almost getting premium stats with ridiculous effects here, so I'd probably notch it down to at least a 4/4, or you can bump up the mana cost to 6, make it a little less flexible, and of course you can do some pretty crazy stuff in Wild as well with Aviana, Coon, and Druid of the Dream, so yeah, I don't think it's a ridiculously overpowered. I think it's a very, very strong card, but I think it needs a little bit of tweaking in both maybe mana cost and stats, but overall, really cool. So balance, I'll give it a 3. Just needs a bit of tweaking, but overall, I love this card. I think it's really cool, and I mean, I'm biased. I love my Druid combo-ish style of cards, and this feels like it would fit right at home with that. Next, we have a card from Emperor Peter called Brule Bearmantle. It's a 4-mana 3/5 legendary, has taunt and battle cry that gains armor equal to how much damage your hero took last turn. So let's say you took 10 damage. You get a 4-mana 3/5 taunt, gain 10 armor. Pretty good. Let's say you took 2 damage. You gain 2 armor. Not great, but you got a Senjin, and, you know, it's pretty much premium stats for, you know, a 4-mana 3/5. We have seen the dual class card with Shaman that heals up for 5. I think it's Shaman Druid. Yeah, it's Shaman Druid. That's a 4-mana 4/5 taunt. So honestly, I think you could justify this being a bit higher. But in terms of flavor and design for Druid, it fits right in. Druid likes to get taunts. They like to gain armor. We've seen that before with like Ferocious Howl, Bite, Branching Paths, Gnash, like a lot of different armor gain cards. I think it fits right at home. It seems like a very solid Druid flavored type of card. I'll give it a 4 on that regard. In terms of balance, I don't think it's really too strong. It feels like just a good Druid card. You probably wouldn't want to play this in like Wild with an Oaken Summons package. Cheating out Brule Bearmantle probably will feel pretty bad. Only 3/5. You already have. You could get a 3/6, a 3/9, a 3/8, and you don't get the Battle Cry, obviously, so this feels like more of a standard card, and I think would fit in at home there. I think it wouldn't be particularly insane. It would be pretty good in like a Quest Druid deck where you're taking a lot of damage early because you're not fighting for board very well. So on turn 5, you play Brule, and then your quest is complete, so that could be pretty good. So I'll give it a 4 in terms of balance. I don't think it might be a little not impactful enough. Might need a little bit more of a bump. Like, honestly, probably could be a 4 or 5, like that dual class card. But overall, really cool, really strong. And yeah, I think it's definitely could be a real Druid card. I'm sorry for the Druid bias, but I like me some Druid. Next, we have Unfair Inspector. This has one of the new keywords we're going to see in the newest expansion. It is a 4-mana 3/4 neutral minion, battle cry, destroy all enemy secrets, and then it's when it corrupts, so you play a card that costs more than this. It plays them, so not only would you steal or destroy all secrets, you would play them, which is insane. We've never seen an effect like that. The closest we've seen is like Kazan Mystic, which would steal a secret, one secret, and that was a 4-mana 4/3. Yeah, I mean, it kind of shares the same name as Chief Inspector, which is 5-mana 4/6, which would destroy all enemy secrets. And I agree, this card's very unfair. He's ridiculous, and I mean, he fits the bill. He's this gluttonous fat son of a gun, and he's going to do some unfair stuff if he corrupts. So I'll give him a 4 to 5 on the design flavor. I get it. I think it makes sense. In terms of balance, I think he's a little too good. I'd probably make him at least 5 mana. Like, the stat line's probably fine. 5-mana 3/4 that destroys all secrets. You're like, oh wait, Chief Inspector's a 4/6. It shouldn't be that understated, but the corrupt effect is so insane, in my opinion, that you kind of got to make it pretty understated. At 4 mana, it's too good. Like, you compare it to the neutral option right now in Standards, the 4-mana 5/4 that just destroys one secret. I think it's just a little too insane for -2 attack. So in terms of balance, I'll give it a 2. I think it's a little too good of a tech option. But again, it's only good against secrets, so you do have that. It's not a secret meta. It's not great, but I just feel as a tech card, it probably should be 5. And then it would be a little bit better. So I'll give it a 2, but again, it's not too ridiculous, but I'm rating it as such. So I'm not really making any sense, but I'm going to stick to it anyways. Next, we have a Hunter Legendary submitted by Matteo. It's called Haldoran Brightwing. It's a 4-mana 3/2 Hunter Legendary minion. I probably said that twice, but I'm going to stick to it. Battlecry, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions for every secret you cast this game. So it's important to note, it says you cast, so you have to play it from in hand. You can't like cheat it out with like Mad Scientist or Phase Stalker to, you know, get the effect. So you have to cast it. And I think this card is extremely, fills in really well with a Hunter. It fills into like, we have a lot of Secret Hunter builds, and typically the Secret Hunter stuff has been more mid-rangey, more, not, I wouldn't like to say control, but it likes to fight for board more than go face. And I like that Haldoran here does not go face. It only hits a minion, so if you play just 2 secrets, right, it's a consecration on minions for 4 to get a 3/2. That's really good, and anything above that is ridiculous. 3 or more damage is amazing. And when you have cards that you can, you know, cheat out secrets, especially in Wild with Cloaked Huntress, this can do some incredible stuff. And it, you know, it plays right into your Spellstone turn, so you can clear the board going right into Spellstone. It can do some incredible stuff, and I feel like it would fit right in home in like a Highlander secret deck. It could be really good there. You could play like Subject 9, get all that stuff going, and Brightwing could just be that. Like I find one of the big struggles with Highlander Hunter in general in Wild is fighting for that early board, and this card could really do that. And it just feels super Hunter. It feels like it could fit right in like a meta and give Hunter a shot. So I'm gonna give 5 design flavor. I love this card. I just feel like it feels super duper Hunter to me. And in terms of balance, again, I think it's well designed and balanced. Like, if you haven't played a secret, this card sucks. It does nothing. So you really need to get that secret. You really need to play 2. So you really got to utilize, you know, building your deck towards secret. You really need it too, because 1 damage is probably not going to be enough. Then you're playing like kind of a garbage Ravaging Ghoul or Arcane Explosion. So I'm going to give it a 4 on balance. It might be a little bit too good, like if you can really reliably get those secrets out and you're always clearing the board, especially in Hunter, such an aggressive class, giving them a really good early clear might be a bit sketchy. I mean, Blizzard hasn't given them that for a reason. Like the best board clears they've had are like Rexar, which is a 6 mana consecrate. So overall, I'll give it a 4 on balance. I think it's a really interesting card. I want this card to be in the game. I want to play it in Wild specifically. I think it'd be really fun in Arena Secret Hunter. Next, we have another Hunter card. This one is from Micho. It's a weapon. It's a 2-mana War Axe, effectively. Hunting Slingshot. So it's a 2-mana 3/2 weapon. After your hero attacks, give your opponent a round rock, and a round rock is a 1-mana spell that deals 1 damage. So you got the upside of a 2-mana War Axe, which is obviously incredibly powerful, and the downside of giving your opponent a spell they can use. But you're giving them an inefficient spell. You're giving them 1 mana, deal 1. That is really not very good. Most classes aren't going to utilize that very well. Basically, the only class that would like this is Mage, because, right, you cheat it with Apprentice and Cyclone. If they don't have Apprentice, it's not great. So I like the design flavor. You're literally Rexar. You're freaking going. You want to go face. You want to smart, and you're literally flinging your slingshot, and you don't even care about the rocks you're giving your opponent. You just want to dome them, and I like that. I appreciate it. This is a very aggressive card, and I mean, we know Hunter likes to be aggressive. It fits the bill. I like it a lot. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 on design flavor. In terms of balance, I think it's way too good. The downside of this weapon, basically, to my opinion, isn't really existent. 1 mana deal 1 is just so inefficient. That's Moonfire for 1, right? So, for that reason, I would make the rock 0 mana. I think that would be more reasonable, where you actually have a real downside to playing an aggressive weapon, because you're going to give the best aggressive class with the most aggressive hero power the best aggressive weapon in the game. I think that would be a little too terrifying, so I'll give it a 2 in terms of balance. I just think the rock should cost 0. If it costs 0, I think we would be in business, because then you're giving your opponent flexible removal, and there is some, you know, actual downside to this. And even you can even have the upside of like milling people with this, right? You play Mill Hunter, that'd be crazy. But overall, I think it fits in Hunter. I would probably adjust that mana cost on the rock. Next, we have a dual class card for Hunter and Druid. Starving Adventure. It's a 3-mana 2/2 minion, and a battle cry. Summon a random beast that costs 2 or less when it dies. Give all friendly minions +1/+1. So, yeah, you play this in, like, basically a tokenish type of deck. You're playing a lot of either early minions or spells that generate tokens, and then you cheat out a beast, right? And you're going to want to cheat out something like a Spring Paw, or a Stone Tusk Boar, or a Hinge Clan Hogsteed, right? And then you immediately attack it and you buff your board. So I could see this being utilized in either Druid or Hunter. I think Druid probably could utilize it a little bit better, because they're better at generating these wide boards. But again, Hunter has gotten a lot of like support, especially with that dual class spell that, you know, you you buff your minion, get a 1/1, play a 1/1. It really fits into a lot of current builds, and again, it's flavorful in terms of cheating out beasts, all that stuff. I like it. It's really cool. I'll give it a 4 on design flavor. I think it's solid. In terms of balance, I don't think it's egregiously overpowered. It's a little bit scary that you're thinning your deck, you're buffing the board, you can make it proactive, but again, I like the build around. You have to build your deck around it. You can only run specific beasts, and that might limit what you can build in terms of, like, summoning minions, you know, all that stuff. I could see this being, like, really good in Embiggen Druid and Wild 2. Like, you're playing the Pirate package already, so you play Pirates and it's, like, the couple of beasts, and then you play this, cheat stuff out with Embiggen. That could be pretty insane, and you're getting a buff. It's very strong. It's very strong, very powerful. But I don't know if I'm scared of it as, like, a really overpowered card. I'll give it a 4 on the balance perspective. But yeah, it could create a lot of good stuff for these early token decks and, you know, give them that little bit of a bang, and, you know, it's pretty flavorful in my opinion. Next, we're going to take a look at a series of Warlock secrets. We've never seen secrets in Warlock, so this is what dual or custom cards is all about, you know, just doing kind of crazy stuff. So let's take a look. I think there's 4 of them, so we'll go through them at least a little bit faster speed. But yeah, this was submitted by Roman. First one's Blood Magic. It's 3 mana. All these secrets are 3 mana. And when your opponent casts a spell, he takes damage equal to this cost of the spell. First, I changed the wording to not he, but they, because, I mean, gotta respect Nemsy, right? Gotta respect Nemsy, so. Anyways, this one's not particularly the strongest secret in the world, and it's kind of flavorful with, for me, I like the flavor of it in terms of the self-damaging. It's flipping things here. We're doing some blood magic. Instead of self-damaging yourself, you're turning the tables and you're making your opponent damage themselves through spell cost. So I think it's really unique and interesting in that way. Normally, again, it's Warlock damaging themselves, but through the secret suit, through some blood magic, it's being flipped in their face. So I like that. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 on design flavor. In terms of balance, I'm going to give it a 1. This card seems really, really terrible. 3 mana just to probably do 1 or 2 damage is just awful, because your opponent can play around this pretty easily. Like, most decks run a lot of cheap spells, so they're going to start with their cheap spell on their turn and take almost no damage. So I don't think this is, like, impactful at all. Like, you'd have to, like, maybe take double the damage. I don't know, but it's just for 3 mana. I can't see it really being realistic. Next, we have Dark Magic, and this secret, when an opponent casts a spell, they lose 3 mana crystals for this turn. It's another interesting card in that if your opponent's running a lot of cheap spells, it can get punished, because if they play any of them, they lose 3 mana for that turn. That can be crippling. But if they don't, let's say, for instance, you know, they play a bunch of minions and then end on a spell, they'll lose 3 mana, but they've already spent it, so it won't do a heck of a lot. Maybe I'd change it for the next turn. That could be debilitating, but that might be too strong. We'll talk about that in a sec. But in terms of, like, fitting into, like, flavor for Warlock, I don't really know. Warlock has not really manipulated mana, done things like that too much. We've seen, like, self-mana destruction in, like, Felguard, I think. Other than that, there's not a particular lot. You've given mana with Demon Fuse. There has been some mana manipulation, but it doesn't feel... It just doesn't scream that much Warlock to me. So I'll give it a 3 on that, but there have been hints of Warlock kind of doing this type of stuff. And then in terms of power level, I'll give it a 3 as well, in terms of balance, just because I feel like it's so easy to play around this card. You play your minions, you play your spells. I feel like you would probably change it so that they lose 3 mana for next turn. But that might be way too good, like 3 mana debilitation the next turn. But again, you're investing 3 mana yourself on that. So, I mean, it might be worth the payoff. So I'll stick with the 3 on the balance, but overall, it's a pretty unique and interesting card. Next is probably my favorite secret of the bunch. It's called Invasion. It summons a 1/1 imp for each minion your opponent controls at the end of their turn. So this secret is almost always at least decent, unless you're facing a very slow deck that doesn't play much minions. You're often going to get like 3 or 4 imps. And the beauty thing of this is multiple archetypes can utilize this in Warlock. We've seen, you know, Plague of Flames, right? You're going to have imps for every minion on board. You just Plague of Flames. It sets it up beautifully. You can play like cards like Grim Rally, play a buff deck where you just get a bunch of imps and then buff them up. And there's just a lot of utilization for it, and it just feels extremely Warlock. We've seen a lot of imp summoning cards, whether it be like Fiendish Circle or like the scheme cards. Like, it's just... or Implosion. It's really cool. I'm going to give a 5 in terms of design flavor. I really like this card. In terms of balance, I do think it's a little too flexible, probably a little too strong, especially with Plague of Flames being such an absolutely busted card. You could definitely justify running Invasion in it, but it's strong. It's really powerful, and it does have the downside of being really bad in slow matchups. So I'll give it a 4 out of 5 in terms of balance. I just think it's a really, really interesting card. And lastly, we have Secret Summoning Ritual. Very secretive because, well, you don't even know what you're going to recruit because you recruit a demon from your deck after your hero took 10 damage in one turn. So there is a bit of a caveat to this card. So we'll talk about that. Taking 10 damage in one turn doesn't happen a heck of a lot, especially like on your opponent's turn. Like that's like a lethal type of turn, or like a demon hunter going in like a giant damage turn. And this is so easy to play around. Like it's so easy for your opponent to only do 9 damage or less. Like it just rarely happens. And the payoff is one demon, right? It can be incredible like in Wild where you're getting like a Void Caller or Despicable Dreadlord or Mal'Ganis or something crazy like that, right? It can be really good, but 10 damage is insane. But I think maybe the thought about this card is like self-damaging. We've seen with Dark Glare, right? You take 10 damage, you could realistically pretty easily do that with like Raise Dead, Flame Imp, Kobold Librarian, all that kind of stuff. Life Tap, of course. The issue is secrets are coded right now that they don't activate on your own turn. So yeah, I don't know how well that's going to work. In terms of design flavor, I could realistically see it being a Warlock card. Again, I'll give it a 4 on that. But yeah, in terms of balance, this card is just, you're never taking 10 damage. It's just way too high a requirement. So again, secrets don't activate on your own turn. I can't see it working that way unless they would specifically write this one to act differently. And if you need to rely on your opponent to do 10, this is just a dead card 99% of the time. So I have to give it a 1 on the balance. But if you like notched it down to like maybe 6, 7 damage, maybe we'd be talking, because then your opponent would have to probably think about passing up on some damage because they don't want to get that demon out. So really cool set of secrets there, and I just wanted to highlight them. I thought that was really fun. And the last card we're going to take a look at is a Warlock legendary spell submitted by SamurottStormer. It's Untested Soul Serum, 7 mana, octuple that's 8 times. A friendly minion's health, and then you discard your entire hand. This card just like, I saw this, I'm like, what are you doing with this? You're getting an insane buff. So even if the minion is like, what, 1 health, it's going to 8, like 2 health. It's just crazy. 16, like the buff is insane. You're going to get an incredible amount of health really quickly, but you lose your hand. So you can't really like play this in Crazed Alchemist and just kill your opponent, right? Like I'm thinking about the combo potentials. Like, I guess you can make a giant taunt, but again, you have to have the taunt stick, and then you play this. It's 7 mana. That's expensive. But even on like a Voidwalker, it's a 1 mana 24. It's pretty silly, but everyone's running hard removal. Everyone's running transform effects to an extent. It can be difficult, but there's like some thought about, you play this and you have the discard synergies, of course, in Warlock. So maybe discard Hand of Gul'dan and stuff like that and draw into something like Crazed Alchemist. Do something stupid. This card just blows my mind in terms of like the possibilities. The ridiculous flavor of it is just awesome. I love this card. I think it's really cool. I'm giving it a 5 on design flavor. It just reeks of ridiculousness. I love it. I love it. In terms of balance, I don't know what the hell you're going to do with this. Like, is it OP? Maybe if you find that right combo, but when you're discarding your hand, how do you find that right combo, right? So I'm going to go right in the middle of the road. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 on balance because, like, again, this card's crazy. But let me know in the comments below. I want you guys, like, what crazy combo would make this card busted? I want to hear it because I think it's really interesting, really unique, and really awesome. So, yeah, that's the custom card review of the week. Again, if you want to submit your cards, hit me up either on Twitter or in the Discord. And, yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Stay salty, my friends.